Good morning, second grade. Today is Tuesday, May 12th, and we're going to call it Tricky Twisted Tuesday. And the thing that's tricky about Tuesday is I'm tricking you a little bit and doing math today before reading. So we're going to start our math lesson right away, and we'll have reading after math today. And today we are going to continue our unit on telling time. And we just got started yesterday with the vocabulary, and today I have this large teaching clock to help me with our lesson. Now, you'll notice this clock is called an analog clock. Remember, we learned that term yesterday. You were told to make a trip around your house to see how many different kinds of clocks you could find. Did you find any analog clocks? Maybe you found some digital clocks. And clocks help us tell time. And you will see on my clock, we have the numbers 1 through 12, and you know that those numbers represent the hours. Now, do you know how many hours are in a day? There's 24 hours in a whole day, but only 12 hours on our clock. And that is because the hour hand is going to get all the way around all 12 numbers 2 times each day. First of all, we have AM. And remember yesterday we learned that fancy Latin word that AM stands for is ante-meridiem. But remember I taught you could just think of it as always morning. And after the 12 AM hours are passed, then we have our 12 PM hours, post-meridiem. But I taught you to just say past morning. That's a little bit easier, right? So let's look carefully at the clock. You will notice some red and some blue. The red hand is the short hour hand. The red hand is the short hour hand, and it goes along with these red numbers. They made that a little easier for you to learn by making the colors the same. The long minute hand is blue, and they have represented the minutes in blue. So when you're trying to read the hour hand, look at the red numbers. When you're trying to read the long minute hand, look at the blue numbers. Now you see these dots in between? Those are called ticks, and each dot stands for 1 minute. So if I were to count all of these ticks all the way around, do you know how many there would be? How many minutes are in 1 full hour? Your answer is 60. There's 60 minutes in an hour. There are also 60 seconds in 1 minute. And remember, 24 hours in a day. And I wish I could spend some of those hours today with you. But the best I can do is spend it with you through the videos. So I'm glad you're here watching today. So watch the hands carefully. Right now it says 3 o'clock. And we know it's 3 o'clock because the minute hand is right up on the 12 where the 60 is. That could also be 00 instead of 60. And you see that the hour hand is right on the 3. So this is 3 o'clock. Now, I'm going to turn the minute hand. And I want you to closely watch what is happening to the hour hand as I turn the minute hand. Has it moved at all yet? That red hour hand? Ooh, we're halfway around now. So now it's 3:30. And look at the red hand has moved. It's halfway between the 3 and the 4 because it is 3:30, so it's 3:30, and it's still a half an hour before 4 o'clock. I'm going to keep moving it. Now watch. Do you see the red hand moving again? So the minute hand made it all around the 60 minutes in the hour, and the hour hand made it from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. I'm going to do that one more time. So if it's 4 o'clock now, in 1 hour it will be 5 o'clock. So here we go. Watch, I'll go a little faster this time. Watch the red hour hand as the minute hand goes all the way around. And now it's, say the time, 5 o'clock. And our hour hand moved from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So the minute hand is always on 12 when we tell time to the hour. And that's what we're going to practice doing today. So what I would like you to do now is go and get your math sheet from yesterday. We will correct that first, and then we will continue our math lesson. So we will continue our math now with first correcting your page from yesterday. It was a pretty easy page for you. You should have circled 7 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and filled in the numbers 6 and 10. For number 4, numbers 6 and 10 again, and 18. For number 5, 10, 15, 25, 30. And if Kira's walking home from school, that would have been in the afternoon. And the back side was where you wrote sentences telling me about your morning, afternoon, and evening. And I know we all did different things at different times of the day. So just check yours over, make sure you have capital letters and periods. And if you didn't remember to send it to me on Seesaw, you could do that now. The next thing I want to do is show you some different kinds of clocks to go with our telling time chapter. This is an example of a cuckoo clock. Now a cuckoo clock usually has a little bird coming out. This one has a little funny character. This kind of clock is called a grandfather clock. They are beautiful clocks. This is kind of a whimsical clock. I took a picture of it because I thought it was kind of funny. Can you tell it's an elephant? And this part of the elephant, the trunk, serves as a pendulum. A pendulum is a part of a clock that swings back and forth and counts the minutes. And I'll show you another clock with a pendulum shortly. Here's another clock. Now, this clock is one where you might think, how can anyone tell the time with that clock? I don't even see the numbers. But second grade, the more and more you practice telling time on an analog clock with a long hand and a short hand, the better you will get at it. And eventually you'll be able to tell time just by looking at where the hands are without even seeing the numbers. That's why I wanted to show you that one. This kind of clock is called a mantle clock. And a mantle clock might sit on someone's mantle by their fireplace. So I think that's how it got its name. Here's another clock that has a pendulum. That's the part that would swing back and forth. And those are all the clocks that I wanted to show you. If you have an interesting clock at your house, you could take a picture of it. Send it to me. So, boys and girls, you'll see I've already written some things on the Math in My World page. And it is because I made this video for you. And then I made a mistake and had to start over. So, some numbers are already written in. But let's pretend they're not. And we can just do this together, okay? I would like you to get page 593. And as I say the numbers, you can fill in the numbers of the clock. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. The 6 is always opposite the 12 on an analog clock. Fill in the 8, 10. And then what I would like you to do is we are going to practice counting by fives. Now, you know that all of these marks on a clock are called ticks. and each tick represents a minute. So when the minute hand moves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and gets to the 1, we would say 5 because 5 minutes have passed. So I would like you to write your numbers as we practice counting to 60 together. I'll go nice and slow so you can write them. So right here put 5, go to the 2, 10, 15, 20, 25, and on the 6 you'll put 30. I want you to memorize that anytime the minute hand is on the 6, that means the minutes read as 30. Let's keep going. 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, and then 60. I put 00 here too because the minutes read as 00 for o'clock. Now we're going to make this clock read 4 o'clock. And whenever you draw the minute hand, remember the minute hand is the long hand. I want you to always say to yourself, right through the number. If you were in the classroom with me and we were going to draw a minute hand, I would make you say it with me and we would all go like this and say right through the number. And we'd go right through the 12 all the way to this outside part of the circle. And then you can draw your arrows. We're going to make this clock say 4 o'clock. So the minute hand always goes right through the number. If you were putting your minute hand for 45 minutes, you would go right through the 9 all the way to the outside of the clock here. If you were drawing your minute hand to be to show 6:30, 30 minutes past would go on the 6 right through the number. But we're going to make this say 4 o'clock. So you drew your minute hand. Now we will draw the short hour hand. The short hour hand has to point directly to the 4, but I want you to draw it only about halfway between the dot in the middle and the 4. That way I can clearly see which hand on your clock is the hour hand, the short hour hand, and which hand is the minute hand. So that is how you write 4 o'clock on an analog clock. So in the blank we are going to put a 4. So it says 4 o'clock. O'clock actually means of the clock. So let's go on to the back. And everything written at the top I have already taught you, but let's go through it together. I would love if you read it with me. On an analog clock, the hour hand points to the hour. It is shorter. The minute hand points to the minute. It is longer. So remember, the hour hand is short. It's often red on the teaching clocks. The hour hand is short and red. We stop and name the hour hand. And then we have the long minute hand that goes right through the number. Let's read over here. A digital clock shows the hour and minutes on a screen. So this clock reads 3 o'clock. We have the hour before the 2 dots. The minutes come after the hour. So what time does this clock say? Let's all write 3 o'clock. Now your assignment is very easy. All you need to do is fill in the time on each of these clocks, write it again right below, and think about this talk math question. How is an analog clock similar to a number line? I want you to talk to someone in your family and tell them your answer to that talk math question. Now remember, today is Tricky Tuesday. which means I can't say goodbye and tell you we're done yet like I usually do after math. Instead, it's time for reading. So if you need to pause it, you can pause it, but go get your reading packet. Here's what we're doing today. We're going to do something called making inferences. Now, I know you are familiar with this. We have done this many times in second grade. We have talked about being good readers and making inferences as we read. Let's talk about what that means. How do readers make inferences? Good readers make inferences by using their background knowledge. Remember, that's all that information in your head. Sometimes I call that your schema. Remember that fancy word? You use your background knowledge and text evidence, so things you read directly in the text. You put them together in order to understand the text. It's kind of like drawing a conclusion. Remember when I read to you, there are so many times that I say, what is going to happen? Or why did the character do that? And I'll say, did the author tell you? Did the author come right out and tell you that? And you say, no, I inferred it. You should always try to be a good inferrer while you read. So you take what the text says, what the author does tell you, you add it to what you already know, and then you can infer. Readers make inferences to figure out things about characters and events in the text that the author doesn't directly tell them. So here's what you think first. What does the text tell me? Second, then think, what do I already know? So lastly, you think, so what can I infer? And as a reader, these are some of the things you might be thinking. We think of them as thinking stems. Based on what I read and what I already know, I can predict that blank because blank. Remember, we did a lot of that kind of thinking when we read Lions at Lunchtime. You also could think this could mean. Another way you could think as a reader is my guess is. Those are all ways to think as you read, and they help you to become better at inferring. And that makes you a better reader because you're actively thinking as you read. Now we're going to practice that skill a little bit. I have some special pages that we're going to do. And what's nice about this is these are just short paragraphs that we read, and then we can do our inferring. So here's the first one. It's called paper money. Have you ever looked closely at a $5 bill? Tiny red and blue fibers are all over the paper. If you hold the bill up to the light, you will see a picture. It is called a watermark. Read with me if you're not. Each bill also has a number that sparkles and changes color. Another number is so small, you need a magnifying glass to read it. All these things make United States, U.S. paper money hard to copy. So, it's time to be an inferrer. It's time to think. Which sentence is most likely true? What can you infer about which sentence is true? Is it A, no one ever tries to copy United States paper money? Could it be B, the United States does not want anyone to copy its money? Or do you think it's C, you need a magnifying glass to use United States money? So think, say your answer. Ding, 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 ding. You should have said B. The United States does not want anyone to copy its money. Now, the author didn't come right out and tell us that, but we could draw that conclusion from what we read. Let's practice some more. Read it with me, please. Jim was sitting on the steps to his house. He was reading a book. He was also waiting for his friends to come over. Suddenly, something tickled Jim's arm. He scratched his arm. A few minutes later, it happened again. This time, Jim saw that an ant was crawling up his arm. There were ants on the steps, too. So think about what the author told you. What did the text say? Think about what you know, and let us infer to see which sentence is most likely true. Is it A, Jim is sitting near an anthill? Could it be B, Jim's friends brought ants? Or could it be C, Jim was reading about ants? Are you ready? What do you think it is? Ding, 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 ding. It is A. Jim is sitting near an anthill. Let's practice 2 more, second grade. Practice making inferences. Here we go. Animal colors. Animals have different forms of protection. Often they look like their surroundings. This is called, do you know this big word? Camouflage. Polar bears live in cold regions. Their white fur blends in with the snow. Lions are a tan color, much like the grasslands where they live. Some caterpillars are green during the summer months. In the fall, they turn brown like the branches they live on. So let's do some inferring. Which sentence is most likely true? Is it A, all animals are difficult to see? Is it B, all animals change color? Or is it C, color is a form of camouflage? Have you decided? You should have chosen C. Color is a form of camouflage. We have 1 more. Are you getting to be an expert at inferring? I'll bet you are. This is called What Jake Did. Jake held his breath. His head moved back and forth as he followed the acrobat. His neck hurt from looking up into the top of the tent. For a long moment, his hand paused over the bag of popcorn he held. Finally, the acrobat landed safely. Jake cheered in relief and began eating again. So think about what the text told you and what you already know to determine which sentence is most likely true. A, Jack is not having a good time. B, Jake is at a circus show. I think they meant to put Jake there. C, the popcorn isn't very tasty. So what do you think the answer is? If you said B, you were correct. You're an excellent inferrer. So now that you have practiced, you get to do some on your own. You will go to your reading packet. On pages 3 and 4, you'll find In the Night, What Happened. You'll also find Long Ago News and Helping Lena. And those are 4 short paragraphs that you will read in your distance learning packet, pages 3 and 4. And your job is to read those paragraphs and you are going to upload it to Seesaw. Now, second grade, I have created the activity that you reply to. So make sure when you go to Seesaw, you don't have to just go ahead and click the plus sign. Please find the activity that will say 5-12 and it will say making inferences, and then you can click add response. Now, if you feel you can do that on your own, you can turn off my video and go and have a great day. But if you would like me to read the paragraphs to you, I will do that right now before I end the video. So here we go. In the night. Most people do their sleeping during the day, but many wild creatures do not. Mice do much of their roaming at night. It's harder for foxes to hunt them in the dark. When otters live near people, they are more active at night. A dragonfly sheds its skin at night. It takes a few hours for the new adult's wings to grow strong. By morning, the dragonfly is ready to fly away. And your choices are A, which sentence is most likely to be true? Here's your choices. A, otters like to live near people. B, it is safer for some animals at night. Or C, wild animals have more fun at night. The next one is what happened. One night, something furry slipped from a hollow tree. A masked animal crept across the sidewalk. It stopped by a container. With little trouble, the animal got the lid off. Crash! The lid clattered to the ground. Mr. Tucker woke up and looked out the window. There was trash on the sidewalk. He could see a striped tail disappear around the corner. And your choices are, which sentence is most likely true? A, a raccoon got into the garbage. B, Mr. Tucker had a bad dream. Or C, an animal robbed Mr. Tucker. I will read both of the paragraphs on page 4. Long ago news. Long ago, there was no TV. No one had a radio. There were no computers. And there were very few newspapers. How did people get news? One way was from a town crier. This person walked through the streets and called out the news. If something special happened, the town crier beat a drum or rang a bell. People would run to hear the news. And your 3 choices for which sentence is most likely true are A, there were few ways to get news long ago. B, most news in the past appeared in print. Or C, in the past, people weren't interested in the news. And here's your final paragraph. Helping Lena. Lena woke up from a long nap. She tried to sit up, but it was too much trouble. Her mother came into the room. She had a tray with some juice on it. She patted the pillows and smoothed the sheets. Then she helped Lena sit up. "Try to drink this," said Lena's mom. "It's good for you." And your 3 choices this time, be a good inferrer. Which sentence is most likely true? A, Lena is a patient in a hospital. B, Lena is sick in bed at home. Or C, Lena had a bad nightmare. So fill in your answers for those 4. Go to Seesaw. You're going to take a picture of each side and you are going to upload it for me. I'm not even asking that you read your answers today. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. If you just send the pictures, that is fine. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And we will be together again through the video tomorrow.